Jackson here with you. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you so much for your time today. Our friends in the media have a very interesting take on what's happening right now. Remember, when Tesla stocks were tanking, good. When the stock market tanked, bad. When the stock market's going back up, also bad. It's interesting. It's an interesting argument. We've got new tariffs being threatened by Donald Trump. You've got trade deals being suggested with either dozens, 50, 60, or 70 different countries. So there's a lot of conversations taking place in different places. There's a suggestion that there could be a 60 or a 90-day pause, depending on what you're reading and where you're reading it from. That yesterday caused the stock market to just absolutely blow up for about, 45 seconds, and then fall back off a cliff, which maybe not the best way to go about doing things, but it is exactly what happened. That's what happened yesterday. So today, futures are up in the United States. They're up pretty much everywhere else. And maybe, just maybe, we're looking at the end here. Trump's Treasury Secretary, or Commerce Secretary, said that we found the bottom. There will be no recession here. As of right now, it's just the stock market. That's the issue as of right this second. What that becomes moving forward, we don't know. But let's talk with Jacob Morrison. Jacob Morrison is with the Family Labor Report. He is here on WVNN 930 to 11 every single Saturday. And he is here to talk with us about some of the stuff going on in the stock market. Just kidding. In the labor world. And Jacob Morrison, you were kind of that would be the best way I could put it on the situation involving these tariffs last week. Any change on that so far?
No change. I think that my biggest concern remains as it was last week, which is that, the kind of slapdash nature of these tariffs may end up negatively polarizing folks against tariffs in the future. And I'm concerned that we don't see any pairing with tariffs a real industrial policy or any indication of consistency. I've been trying to listen to stuff and learn a little bit more. And one of the points that folks have made that I think makes a lot of sense is that, businesses, in order, if the goal really is to onshore a whole lot of manufacturing, businesses want some level of consistency and some degree of certainty, that things are going to be stable. And, this is obviously, I think you would agree, anything but stable. And so what is going to be incentivizing, manufacturers to come onshore? The Biden administration, the way that they did it and the way that they got more manufacturing jobs under the Biden administration created than during the entirety of the Trump administration is they paired that with a real industrial policy. They had tax credits and they had incentives for chip manufacturers to come to the United States, and we built the biggest chip manufacturing plant in the United States for sure, and maybe even in the world. I can't remember, but that actually worked to a certain degree, and so I'm concerned.
Interesting to hear you advocate for tax cuts in that instance, which I tend to agree with what they're doing there in order to entice that business to come here. Also, I think we kind of ignored the idea that COVID happened in the middle of that, and we made a lot of really bad decisions across the board worldwide that cost us a bunch of jobs, and a lot of that was
I'm not doing the kind of bit where you say like, oh well, Joe Biden created 40 million jobs because of the COVID. I'm not doing that. I'm saying that
you're doing the opposite. You're saying that he created those jobs because he created them out of whole cloth, when in reality that was just a return to work situation.
No, I'm not. I'm looking at the number of manufacturing jobs that the total number of manufacturing jobs and the percentage of manufacturing as a portion of the economy under Trump pre-COVID compared to where we were at the end of the Biden administration, and it was a significant increase by the end of the Biden administration.
And hopefully we see some continuing of this. These tariffs, the idea, at least as portrayed by the Trump administration, is to get people to bring their companies back here. But there was something that was said the other day, and it was one of the major manufacturers in China was like, "Screw this, we're moving to India." So I'm not sure that's. I mean, maybe that's better because we have a friendlier relationship with India. Okay, so there's that. But it looks like there could be a move to India from China in order to sort of circumvent the whatever trade battles could be brewing in the future. That doesn't really help the average American worker, does it?
No, it doesn't, and that doesn't address what is the actual problem, which I've been talking about, and I've been saying on my show and your show. You know, the actual problem is not that other countries charge tariffs on our goods. Like that can be a compounding factor, but that's not the real problem. The real problem is that workers in other countries are exploited orders of magnitude more than workers in the United States. A worker in the United States in a lot of these manufacturing places is going to be making, minimum like $18 an hour. In union shops, the total compensation package is going to be something like $40, $50, $55, $60 an hour. And in other countries, it can be, in Mexico, I think auto workers make $7 an hour. In other countries, it can be $7 a day, right? Like that is the problem. And that is why, they're able to produce these things so much more cheaply in other countries, is because they exploit workers. And that's the fundamental problem. You can get rid of all of the tariffs that you want, and American labor is not going to be competitive in the same way.
Right.
If
so
we
what do you do?
not bring up
that
working
I think
conditions.
is the point. That there was a guy yesterday who tweeted out that the average cost of an iPhone would be like $30,000 if it was made in the United States because of the reasons you just laid out. I'm not so sure that's true. Maybe it is, but you could tariff the good at 10,000%. I mean, whatever. Not really that much, but you could tariff the good at like 1,000% or whatever, and you'd be in a situation where you still wouldn't be able to produce it inside the United States cheaper than they can do it in China, right?
Right. Yeah. I think some of the rebuttals to that were funnily enough like, oh no, we could do it more cheaply in the United States because we would just have robots do it. And it's like, well, I thought the point was to get more manufacturing jobs, and it doesn't sound like that's going to create more manufacturing. So what's actually the point of all of this? And so I think that what you should do is you should have kind of rational and increasing tariffs where you do have extreme levels of worker exploitation combined with tax incentives, tax credits, straight up subsidies to companies to manufacture in the United States, and a way for countries to ramp off of these increasing tariffs, a way to demonstrate to the United States that, look, our workers in our country are making, $20 an hour now. They have the right to form a union now. They have all of these kinds of things, and you can get off of off of tariffs that way.
So were you at the park this weekend at the hands off? Did you tell any of those people that we should be giving manufacturers tax incentives to come to this country?
No, but I don't think that would be.
Oh, really? You don't think that's the case? Because I will tell you, there's a pretty strong movement on the American left against the tax incentives that you're talking about for American manufacturing. In fact, one of the arguments they're making is that Elon Musk and his companies got too many tax incentives. And that he is bleeding the country dry by doing exactly what you're suggesting right here. Isn't that interesting?
No, because I don't think that the problem is actually with tax incentives, and to the extent that there are problems with tax incentives, which I have problems with some of the ways that we do tax incentives. I think just in the same way that I was saying that we could have demonstrate an off ramp for countries with tariffs by raising labor standards. I think that we should tie tax incentives to manufacturers in this country with minimum labor standards. We should, for instance, say that you can't, you have to abide by our child labor laws.
Alabama does that. X amount of jobs, X amount of this, X amount of that.
No, they don't. They don't really.
Yes, they do.
They don't.
There literally are clawbacks in Alabama law or in the deals they make where they absolutely do that. You have to create X amount of jobs, or you get clawed back. Have
you ever seen one company have to claw back?
Yes, Remington would be one of the easy ones. I mean, that's the easiest one to think about.
Remington actually did have to pay back.
There were clawbacks. Yeah, there were clawbacks in that.
Well, that's not. That's interesting. I didn't know that, but that's not even what I was saying. I was saying they should have tie it to wages, working
a certain
conditions,
wage. I understand. I understand what you're going for.
And
there.
so, but yeah, no, the thing that people are pointing to with the Tesla stuff is just it's just a counter to the idea that Elon Musk kind of made this on his own, and the idea, it's like, well, he didn't actually. He did it with the help of the American people.
I want you to hang on. I got to take a quick time out here. I want you to hang on. I want to talk about that protest since we started going down this path. Hang on a second, Jacob. What'd you guys accomplish out there? Got about 1,000 people. Seemed like you guys had a pretty good crowd out there. Did Donald Trump resign, Elon Musk resign, or throw himself into a volcano? Did he do any of those things?
I think we're getting word that they're about to.
Oh, good. Yeah,
that's my understanding.
When you were out there, what was your favorite part? The 900 people who were over the age of 65, or the 900 people who were over the age of 65 being lied to about their Social Security going away?
Well, I think that my favorite part was that it was 1,000. I think 2,000 people.
Yeah, 10,000. Let's just say 10,000.
Yeah, well, a lot of people coming out. I mean, this was the biggest protest that I've seen in Huntsville that was explicitly oppositional to a Republican administration.
Agreed.
Right? I mean,
the
George Floyd protest was a lot bigger. I think, there were probably 10 times as many people at the George Floyd protest in Huntsville. But that wasn't, that was just a kind of like a shock. It wasn't like against Trump or against anything else, but this was explicitly like Donald Trump is doing things that I do not like. And I think that's I think that especially with how many people were there, I can't believe that Del Strong isn't going to look at that, and especially if
what's he supposed to do? Go hold a town hall and let people yell at him?
Well, I think that he should. I think that part of you said that.
Why wouldn't
I've heard you say that I don't. Part of being a public official isn't being yelled at, but I think that frankly it is. I think that we have too much respect for politicians these days.
I'll tell you what. I will change my position if you provide Terry Sewell to me. So
I think that Terry Sewell should provide herself to be yelled at by her constituents.
I did a radio show in Birmingham for 4 years, and Terry Sewell's office wouldn't even respond to me.
Oh, I
was on the public airwaves, and she would not respond. Why doesn't she resign?
Yeah, I know. Well, I think that I do think that a town hall is a little bit different than an oppositional radio person. But I think that she should have. I still think that she should have done it. I agree. I think that's problematic. But yeah, I think that and like you mentioned, the crowd. This was not a young, super multiracial crowd. This was primarily old, primarily white, right? Mm-hmm. And so that is the Republican base, and so.
These were the let's just say by your numbers, the 19,000 crunchy old hippies trying to relive their glory days that they never actually had because they were 10 during the Vietnam War. So what they're trying to do is relive that in a moment that they never had. But I will say this. Do you agree with this or not? This will be the last question here. Is it possible if you keep dragging these old people out into the hot sun to scream about Social Security when it's not going away, that the Social Security viability might solve itself?
If Congress acts and raises taxes on rich people, then yes, the Social Security.
I meant that they would die in the streets. That's what I was going at, because they're old and they're out there screaming and they fall into a duck pond and die. That's what I was suggesting. Jacob Morrison, thank you very much. I appreciate you being here. Appreciate you giving us an update on that event. It was a huge event. He's not wrong about that. There is no question about that. That event was big, and there maybe it does foretell something large coming down the pipe, or the stock market was down and a bunch of old people have been lied to about Social Security. That's also possible. But we appreciate Jacob being here on the Alabama A&M $350 million Bulldog Hotline.
You just saw a clip from the Valley Labor Report. We are live every Saturday morning from 9:30 a.m. till 12:30 p.m. And we pride ourselves on keeping all of our content free to everybody so that we can talk to as many working folks as possible. If you support the work that we're doing, you think that it's important, you think that it's good, then consider making a monthly contribution to the project, and you can do that on our website, tvlr.fm.